Barakateh Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rachah Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Zechariah, the 11th chapter. This lesson is inspired by a question a brother had asked at the camp, probably about a month ago, 3 weeks ago or so. And he asked us to go over, he asked Apostle Tar to go over Zechariah 9 and Zechariah 11. And Apostle Tar threw it at me, and Spirit jumped on me to do Zechariah the 9th chapter. But I looked into the 11th chapter, but the Spirit didn't jump on me to do it. Then the brother asked me this Saturday if I could go over it, so I told him, Lord's will, I would get to it. So we're gonna get into it, and Lord's will, it'll be edifying. These chapters, are historic chapters, or historical chapters, and some chapters in the scriptures are sometimes they're twofold, sometimes they're prophetic, sometimes they apply to the time that they were written in, or thereabouts, certain events in the future, for example, or in the past. For example, Daniel's 11th chapter, these so-called scholars try to use that for today, dealing with the different world players on the scene to try to say that that's what that represents, but that already happened. So Daniel the 11th chapter has already been fulfilled, but they'll try to still use it today for that. Now, in certain cases, there's certain scriptures that certain events took place in the past and certain events took place in this time, and this is how the scriptures are written. It's like a big puzzle. So, lock it for 1 minute. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna get into it. I wrote down a couple of precepts, that came to mind as I was reading through, and follow some of the precepts on the in the Bible itself that gave some pretty good precepts. So we'll deal with it as such. So it says the doomed flock. All right, so right off the rip, you could see it says the doomed flock. In the red Bible that we have, the title of it is, bear with me while I get it. It says Jerusalem's ruin. And that ruin came by reason of us breaking the law, statutes, and commandments. See, this is one thing we have to understand about the covenant. The covenant that the Lord Yahweh gave to Moses to give to us, to our foreparents in the past, was based upon there were certain clauses within that contract, because the Bible is a contract book, and that contract book is given solely to the nation of Israel, no other nation. You can read about that in Psalms, the 147th chapter, and many other places. And that contract came with clauses. Hold on for 1 minute. That contract came with clauses, right? And that clause, stated that if we didn't keep, if we were to break the Lord's laws, that there were certain animals that we had to sacrifice and shed their blood to be able to continue in that contract. Those were stipulations in the contract, which we didn't keep. And eventually the Lord got tired of the agreement, of the provisions in the agreement, that if you go off, you either got to pay so-and-so, or you got to sacrifice this animal or the other. And he got tired of that, so he cut that off. And this is why when you read through the scriptures, you read about the different captivities that our forefathers went through, and when they were catching hell, it was because of a breach in a contract. So the same way there were stipulations in the contract when we did good, good would come. There were also stipulations in the contract when we did bad, bad will come. And that's the bottom line. So when we read this, it says Zechariah 11:1, open thy doors, O Lebanon, that the fire may devour thy cedars. Now, cedars are pretty much used as a metaphor for men. Sometimes it's talking about an actual cedar, actual trees, but in this case, it's talking about the men, that were comparable to different trees, and sometimes the scriptures speak about men mighty like warriors as rams and goats and things of that nature, in many different aspects. All right, so it says that the fire may devour thy cedars. Just bear with me 1 second. Salakia. All right. Just bear with me 1 second. I meant to look something up real quick before I had got started, but I'm a little under the gun because I got a lot of stuff that I have to do. Right, so let me just bring this out real quick. This is Deuteronomy 1:5. It says, on this side Jordan and in the land of Moab began Moses to declare this law, saying, the Lord our power gave unto us in Horeb, saying, you have dwelt long enough in this mount. Turn you and take your journey and go to the mount of the Amorites, which are Hamites, Canaanites, and unto all the places nigh thereunto, in the plain, in the hills, and in the vale, and in the south, and by the seaside, to the land of the Canaanites, and unto Lebanon, unto the great river, the river Euphrates. Behold, excuse me, I have set the land before you. Go in and possess the land which the Lord Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, swear unto your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give unto them and to their seed. So these are all lands that we were going to inherit. Now, when you look at a map and you look at something that the scholars call the Fertile Crescent, that pretty much was the majority of that land was given to our forefathers, given to us as an inheritance from the river of Egypt, all the way up until the Euphrates. All that land there within that crescent was given to us, because remember, south of that you had Ishmael's territory, you had Esau's territory, Moab, Ammon, and all them different nations that were living there. That's their land to this day. But that the most fertile and the best land was given to us, as an inheritance. All right. So open thy doors, O Lebanon, that the fire may devour thy cedars, because the Lord was going to bring judgment upon the nation of Israel. Right. How fir tree for the cedar is fallen, because the mighty are spoiled. The mighty are spoiled, meaning the warriors. Because whenever you have an empire, a nation, a city, a country, you need the protection of a military. Usually, and I'm speaking in general terms, usually you have the protection of a military in case of any foreign invaders, whether they're domestic, within your circle or not, for protection. So the Lord is saying that the mighty men that were going out to war, they were also going to be broken. They were going to be spoiled. How, O ye oaks of Bashan, for the forest of the vintage is come down. So now let's go real quick to the book of, let me leave that just in case. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, the 3rd chapter. And let's start at the 1st verse. It says, for behold, the Lord of hosts, doth take away from Jerusalem and from Judah, because the Lord broke the whole nation apart. First he broke it into two, and then he just scattered, the stay and the staff. The stay meaning the hold, and the staff, which is the power, the ruling power that the Lord gave us. The whole stay of bread and the whole stay of water. So everything was to be demolished. Nothing was going to be sure anymore. As to when the Lord made the promise was sure, and we had everything. And what did the scripture say? Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked. The mighty man and the man of war, see? So the Lord broke what? The mighty man and the man of war, the judge and the prophet and the prudent and the ancient. And all of this right here, what we're reading, is all mentioned in the book of Zechariah, the 11th chapter. It says the captain of 50 and the honorable man. It says, and the counselor and the cunning artificer and the eloquent orator. Right. And when we read, what is that? Ecclesiasticus, I believe that's the 38th chapter, where it speaks about, the smiths and the carpenters and all of that. It said the city cannot be without these, because all of those are needed. You need those that build. You need those that are engineers. You need those that are farmers. You need those that are, skilled in different things to make a community, a government, everything run properly. But the Lord said he was going to cut all that down. That's why at one time we were eloquent orators. Believe it or not, you see Jake in the hood talking, just some of them sound like they have marbles in their mouth. That's directly from the Lord, because we were eloquent orators. We even the poor didn't speak like Jake speaks today. I mean, you had the slangs and all that, but they didn't speak like that crazy shit that Jake is talking today. It says, and I will give children to be their princes, and babes shall rule over them. And that's why today you have the younger generation that has no respect for the older generation. This is all a systematic breakdown of our nation from the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And the people shall be oppressed, every one by another, and every one by his neighbor. The child shall behave himself proudly against the ancient, and the base against the honorable. It says, when a man shall take hold of his brother, of the house of his father, saying, thou hast clothing, be thou our ruler, and let this ruin be under thy hand. Because in order to have something running properly, you have to have proper rulers over it, a proper government, to be able to deal with problems and situations and things that need to be addressed, right? But what happened with us is the Lord broke all of that structure down. That's why you have no real leaders. And the leaders that you do have, for the most part out there, are nothing more than doing it for a benefit. That's why Yahushua said the harvest is plenteous, but the laborers are few. Because there are very few laborers that will actually do the actual work of the Lord. Why? Because they're inspired directly from the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Because we're living a curse. So the only way to be able to stay on the path of righteousness is for the Lord to make that inspiration, instill that inspiration in that particular man to be able to walk that path. Right? It says, in that day shall he swear, saying, I will not be an healer, because that's how you heal. We use the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai to heal, because that's the healing ointment. This is the medicine. But there, at one point, no one was able to break things down to heal our nation. This is why the Apostle John wept on the island of Patmos when he saw that there was no man to open the seals of the book, because that was the key of healing our nation, would be with the words of this book taught in the right context. Because the Lord said that I will give you passages according to mine heart, which will feed you with knowledge and understanding. Because they're going to do it according to the inspiration that is given from the Heavenly Father himself through his son Yahushai. It says, for in my house is neither bread nor clothing, make me not a ruler of the people. Yeah, because no one was going to be able to help us out of this condition. It says, for Jerusalem is ruined, or Jerusalem is ruined, and Yahweh is fallen, because as a nation we fell, because their tongue and their doings are against the Lord, to provoke the eyes of his glory. And that's why we fell as a nation. Now let's jump from there to the book of Lamentation, the first chapter. And let's start at the first verse. How doth the city sit solitary? See, at one time we were we're a royal nation. We're royalty, a special treasure, a peculiar people. But what happened? We fell as a nation. The Lord chopped us down. He broke us down. Systematically broke us down. He destroyed us, meaning he destructured us. Because if you don't have a proper leader, the government is not going to be established properly. You're gonna pretty much bring up individuals that have those wolf-like tendencies, for lack of better words. Why? Because the ones that were ruling were wolves themselves. See, this is Ecclesiastes 10:1. A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. And what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. Why? Because this individual, if he's a wicked king, he's going to want wicked people around him. And they're going to do wicked things. It says, an unwise king destroyeth his people. But through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. The power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time will he set over it one that is profitable. And this is why we fell as a nation, going to the third verse, because prudence was not done among us, because every man was left to their own vices. Do whatever you want to do. And being that we were brought up in this society teaches you to do whatever you want to do. You have songs like go on and do it till you're satisfied, whatever it is. That's straight up wickedness, man. So going back to Lamentation 1:1, how doth the city sit solitary that was full of people? How is she become as a widow? She that was great among the nations and princes among the provinces. See, great among the nations and princes, among the provinces. All right. How is she become tributary? And that's what happened. We fell. We became tributary. We went from being the lenders to being the borrowers, from being the royals to being the peasants. She weepeth sore in the night, and her tears are on her cheeks. Among all her lovers she hath none to comfort her. All her friends have dealt treacherously with her. They are become her enemies. Judah is gone into captivity because of affliction, and because of great servitude. She dwelleth among the heathen. She findeth no rest. All her persecutors overtook her between the straits. The ways of Zion do mourn, because none come to the solemn feast. All her gates are desolate. Her priests sigh. See, her virgins are afflicted, and she is in bitterness. Because who was at the gates? The leaders. But the gates became desolate. Jerusalem actually became desolate, but the actual leadership, the actual peoples became desolate also. It says her adversaries are the chief, because they got above us. Her enemies prosper, for the Lord hath afflicted her for the multitude of her transgressions. So this is what we're reading in the book of Zechariah 11. Her children are gone into captivity before the enemy, because the Lord pulled back the hedge. And from the daughter of Zion, all her beauty is departed. Keep that in mind. Keep this word in mind. Beauty. Let me see if it's the same word. It's a different word, but just keep that word beauty in mind. Right, because, wisdom, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is an ornament. And the closer we get to the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai, the more apparent it becomes. Scriptures say, wisdom maketh a man's face to shine. And from the daughter of Zion, all her beauty is departed. Her princes are become like harts that find no pasture, because they're moving. They fainted. Because when a hart, which is a deer, doesn't get any food, what happens? Eventually it dies, because it's starving of nutrition. It has no energy, because it has nothing to fuel the body. And they are gone without strength before the pursuers. See? Yerushalayim remembered in the days of her affliction and of her miseries all her pleasant things that she had in the days of old, when her people fell into the hand of the enemy, and none did help her. The adversary saw her and did mock at her stabbs. Jerusalem had grievously sinned, therefore she is removed. All that honored her despise her, because at one time we were lauded and looked at in high esteem by these nations. Even though they didn't like us, they held us in high esteem because of the way that we were. Hey, when the Queen of Sheba came to King Solomon, she said she had no more life in her. She saw the splendor and the majesty and then the words that came out of this man's mouth. Because they have seen her nakedness, yea, she sigheth and turneth backward. Her filthiness is in her skirts. She remembereth not her last end. Remember, this goes back to the book of Deuteronomy 32. You know, they didn't remember the last end. Therefore she came down wonderfully. She had no comforter. O Lord, behold my affliction, for the enemy hath magnified himself. Now, there was a point in here. Let me see. Just bear with me 1 second. Right. So right here, Jerusalem remembered in the days of her affliction and of her miseries all the pleasant things that she had in the days of old, when her people fell into the hand of the enemy. We look at the word fell. Fell. What do you have there? The word Nepal, which goes back to what? To Nephilim, which are fallen ones, to fall, lie, be cast down, fail. All right. So that should bring to mind the Nephilim. Right, the fallen ones, not not no angels getting kicked out of heaven, people of great stature, as far as prestige and royalty being brought down to a peasant state. Now let's go from there real quick to Psalms 82 and 6. It says, "I have said ye are gods," because we were on the level of gods. We were the judges of the earth. You know, we had spiritual power. We were exalted above the nations. It says, "And all of you are children of the Most High," because we are Yasha'Allah. We are the sons of God. You know, that is spoke of, that laid down with the daughters of men. Right? It says, "But ye shall die like men, and what? And fall like one of the princes." So when we look at this word fall, once again, what do you have? The word Nepal again, which goes back to the word Nephilim, which in the book of Genesis, the 6th chapter, is translated as giants, which should have not been giants. It should have been, giant in the sense of having a great stature, as far as, you know, being known, famous, you know. But that word shouldn't have been there, because you had what? Napayal, which is a word that goes back to the root word Nepal, which is Nephilim. All right, so now let's go from there. Let's go back to Zechariah 11 and 3. "There is a voice of howling of the shepherds, for their glory is spoiled, a voice of roaring of young lions, for the pride of Jordan is spoiled." Yeah, because these shepherds, the actual shepherds of our nation, were lacking at one time. It says, "Thus saith the Lord my power, feed the flock of the slaughter." Now, what is the flock of the slaughter? Let's go to Isaiah. And then you can go to many other ones. If brothers have other ones, of course, you can go to those, you know. But this is one that came to mind when I was reading that. Isaiah 65 and 11. It says, "But ye are they that forsake the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai." And in forsaking the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, provoking the Lord to anger, led to the confusion of our faces, meaning we were confounded among these nations. You know, it's just like if you playing basketball, or you playing whatever sport you play, and you're used to winning all the time. You just know when you get on that court, you're gonna do your thing, and then all of a sudden you lose. You're like, "Oh shit, what the hell happened?" You know, you're gonna be surprised. You're gonna be confounded. You're gonna be like at a loss of words. So this don't usually happen to me, you know. Well, that's what happened. "That forget my holy mountain, that prepare a table for that troop." And what is the troop? Esau. And what is the table they're preparing for them? This nonsense that they teach out, these different philosophies and religions that they teach to keep Esau's kingdom afloat. And they're being led of these false prophets. As Yahweh said, they be leaders, blind leaders of the blind. If the blind lead the blind, they shall both of them fall in the ditch. Well, a lot of these Israelites that believe in the bullshit that they believe in today, they were led by bullshit artists to go down that path. But ultimately, they were blinded from the truth, when you get down to the nitty gritty and the nuts and bolts of everything. And that furnished a drink offering to that number. Yeah, and the number is what? 2/3. So they're furnishing a drink offering. And this drink offering is not talking about just a regular, a shot of whatever you drink or a glass of yayan, or a beer. Because to the Most High, there had to be certain offerings that were brought to him. Whatever the offering may be, peace offering, whatever there may be, and there was a certain way that you had to do it. Well, when you worship in these different idols, which today will be classified as religions, because you don't have an actual idol people are bowing to, but the religion is a representation of that idol, you have to do certain things, certain offerings, right? And so they're furnishing a drink unto that number. Therefore will I number you to the sword. So the Lord is going to number them to the sword, and you shall all bow down to the slaughter, because when I called, you did not answer. When I spake, you did not hear, but did evil before mine eyes, and did choose that wherein I delighted not. So this is a punishment. All right. So going back to Zechariah, that's the flock of the slaughter. It says, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. Why? Because Esau and the other nations who possess us, mainly Esau today, they don't hold themselves guilty. Because they're looking at the point where you have these sellouts that are getting paid to do certain things. Even when you go back to slavery, you had sellouts among all the tribes. You go back to slavery. They to live a more comfortable life and not to have to suffer the pains that other Israelites were suffering, they would do certain things to get in the good graces of the master. They didn't take the route of Moses, who said, the hell with the pleasures of sin for a moment. I'm going to suffer with my people to get that everlasting joy. It says, and they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. And this is dealing with these leaders among the nation of Israel. One good scripture we could go to, I have another one, but one we could go to is Isaiah 9:16. It says, for the leaders of this people cause them to err. The word err is a shortened form of the word error. They cause them to commit error. And they that are led of them are destroyed. Why? Because my people is destroyed for what? For lack of knowledge. And Israel has gone into captivity because pretty much we forsook the Lord. So the other one I have is, let's go to Zephaniah 3:1. Woe to her that is filthy and polluted, to the oppressing city. Yeah, because the Most High made us clean. This is why we're known as the saints. This word saints means holy. What made us holy? The covenant that the Most High made with us. The law, statutes, and commandments that he gave to us as a separation from the different nations. It made us distinct from the other nations. And that contract is what made us holy. And it made us clean. But what happened? We became polluted. Mainly from worshiping them goddamn idols. She obeyed not the voice. She received not correction. See? She trusted not in the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai. She drew not near to her power. So what do you think the Lord's going to do? If you don't draw near to the Lord, what do you think the Lord's going to do? He's going to draw away from you. And who's stronger? You're gonna persuade the Most High? You must be out your goddamn mind. Her princes within her are roaring lions. Yeah, because they're only looking for what? For the prey, for gain. They don't give a damn about who's. Their whole thing is, look, I gotta eat. The hell with y'all. It says her judges are evening wolves. They gnaw not the bones till the morrow. Keep that in mind. They gnaw not the bones till the morrow. Her prophets are light and treacherous persons. Her priests have polluted the sanctuary. They have done violence to the law because they didn't judge the people rightly. What did they do? They wrestled against the law. For what? For gifts. Remember the scripture said a gift destroyeth the heart. So let's go back to Zechariah. I'm sorry, I got one more. You know what? I'm going to leave this in Zephaniah because we're going to deal with that again, Lord's will. So let's go from there to Isaiah 56 and 10. It says, his watchmen are blind. They are all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs. They cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber, because they're not given warning. The Lord said, give them warning from me. Hear my words and give them warning from me. They're not giving warning. They're putting the people to sleep. It says, yea, they are greedy dogs which can never have enough, and they are shepherds that cannot understand. That's why the Lord said, I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. You know, because you have to have the knowledge and the understanding to be able to lead and feed. Yahweh Shai said, if you love me, Peter, feed my sheep, feed my lambs. They all look to their own way, everyone for his gain from his quarter. So pretty much they're only doing it to what benefits them. It's not for the benefit of the people, even though when they get out and they start talking their talk, they'll say, you know, it's for the benefit of the people because they're trying to win the love of the people so that the people can, you know, show them give them some love offerings, you know, and make their pockets nice and fat and lovely. But that's the only reason why they're doing it. It says, come ye, say they, I will fetch wine, and we will fill ourselves with strong drink, and tomorrow shall be as this day, and much more abundant. Because they promise them what? Wealth. They promise them, you know, great possessions. They promise them prosperity. See, if you do what I do, congregation, you're going to get fat like me too. One day you'll be able to afford that, you know, that house and that car. But you got to take care of me first. You see? So now going back to Zechariah 11. And we're at the 6th verse now. For I will no more pity the inhabitants of the land, saith the Lord, but lo, I will deliver the men every one into his neighbor's hand, and into the hand of his king, and they shall smite the land, and out of their hand I will not deliver them. In other words, the Lord is not going to have mercy anymore. He's taking that hedge away. You know? He's allowing things to happen. He's allowing Jake to go into captivity. He's allowing the leaders to devour the flock. And I will feed the flock of the slaughter, even you. Salaki for 1 minute. Yep. I will feed the flock of the slaughter, even you, O poor of the flock. And I took my 2 staffs, the one I called beauty, and the other I called bands, and I fed the flock. Now the band that's called beauty, I'm sorry, the staff that's called beauty, that is a representation of the covenant that the Lord made with us. You go look up the word beauty, is the word na'im. It says kindness, pleasantness, delightfulness, beauty, favor, delightfulness. How does that scripture go? Just bear with me 1 second. Right, beautiful. Jeremiah 2 and 3, which I think that's on the list. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that was on the list. Nope, I didn't put it on there. Beautiful. Jeremiah 2 and 3. I'm gonna start it. Let me bring it up here. I don't need this anymore. Jeremiah 2:1. Moreover, the word of the Lord came to me, saying, go and cry in the ears of Jerusalem, saying, thus saith the Lord, I remember thee, the kindness of thy youth, the love of thine espousals, when thou wentest after me in the wilderness, in a land that was not sown. Israel was holiness unto the Lord, and the first fruits of his increase. All that devour him shall offend, evil shall come upon them, saith the Lord. So we were holiness unto the Lord. But then what happened? We turned into the degenerate plant of a strange vine. So that was beauty. So what did the Lord say? That pleasantness got turned into unpleasantness. Right? I will feed the flock of the slaughter, even you, O poor of the flock. And I took my two staffs, the one called beauty and the other called bands, and I fed the flock. So now when we jump to the 10th verse real quick, it says, and I took my staff, even beauty, and cut it asunder, that I might break my covenant which I had made with the people. Then you have the staff called bands. Now the word bands is a binder, something that binds. And what's that? That's the union, the coming together of all the tribes. But before we go to that, Salakia, I'm jumping the gun. Let's go real quick dealing with beauty. Let's go to Psalms, the 27th chapter. And let's start at the first verse. It says, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Right? Because if we're doing the right thing to the best of our ability, the Lord makes our path smooth until, he has to put afflictions upon us, but then people that are not doing what the Lord say, they're evil and wicked things come upon them. It says, when the wicked, even mine enemies and my foes, came upon me to eat up my flesh, keep that in mind, eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. All right. It says, though an host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war should rise against me, in this will I be confident. One thing have I desired of the Lord, that will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai all the days of my life, and behold the beauty of the Lord, and to inquire in his temple. See, so what did the Lord do? He broke that staff, beauty, that covenant that he made with us, because we broke the covenant first. And when you have a contract, the contract is only valid as long as you keep the terms of the contract. You violate the terms of the contract is null and void. And there are always stipulations in there, clauses and sub-clauses to say, if you do this, if you do that, such and such will happen, and this, that, and other. This will make the clause null and void. It says, in the time of trouble, he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me up upon a rock. Why? Because he made a covenant with our forefather Abraham, then Isaac, then Jacob. And that was that was cemented by the contract that he gave to Moses to give to us, which we agreed, and the contract was signed in blood, which that made that contract of force at that time. And now shall mine head be lifted up above mine enemies round about me. Therefore will I offer in his tabernacle sacrifices of joy. I will sing, yea, I will sing praises unto the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. But now that beauty is not there, but it's coming back. Now let's go from there to Psalms, the 90th chapter, and the 13th verse. It says, return, O Lord, how long? And let us repent thee concerning thy servants. O satisfy us early with thy mercy, that we may rejoice and be glad all our days. Make us glad according to the days wherein thou hast afflicted us, and the years wherein we have seen evil. Yeah, that's why the Lord said that we're gonna be pampered. The scriptures say that we're gonna be pampered. It is the Lord's good pleasure to give you the kingdom of heaven. So for all of our afflictions, we're gonna be rewarded. Let thy work appear unto thy servants, and thy glory unto their children. And let the beauty of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, our power, be upon us. Let it clothe us, And establish thou the work of our hands upon us. Yea, the work of our hands establish thou it. So that was according to what? According to the contract So that's why it says here in Zechariah 11:7, "Now feed the flock of the slaughter, even you, O poor of the flock. And I took unto me 2 staffs, the one I called beauty, and the other I called bands." Now when we look up the word bands, which is a binder, which is a keeping together of the nation, is the word chabal. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the word chabal means companion. To bind, to take a pledge, lay to pledge, to hold by a pledge, taking pledge, holding pledge. To bind, to keep together. And when you look up the word bind by itself, you have tie or fasten something tightly. As you have when you buy a notebook and you have a binder of the notebook, what is the binder for? That metal spiral thing. What is that for? To hold all the pages together. So that staff is what held together all of the nation of Israel. But then what happened? The Lord severed it eventually. And then when we jump down to the 14th verse, it said, "Then I cut asunder mine other staff, even bands, that I might break the brotherhood between Yahweh and Yasha'Allah." And that's what happened. And that's why we, were severed. Now let's go from there real quick. To the book of, just building on that, Zephaniah 2:1. It says, "Gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired," because we were supposed to be gathered together, but we were separated. Now we're being bound back together. Now let's go from there to the book of Psalms 133:1. "Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together," what? In unity. See? "Can two walk together except they be agreed?" So that was a band. That was a staff called bands. Then it goes on in the 8th verse, Zephaniah 11:8, and it says, Three shepherds also I cut off in 1 month, and my soul loathed them, and their soul also abhorred me. Then said I will not feed you. That dieth, let it die, and that is to be cut off, let it be cut off. So let me go back. 3 shepherds also I cut off in 1 month, and my soul loathed them, and their soul also abhorred me. Now, people were looking for, so who was these 3 shepherds? Was it 3 actual guys? Was it 3, And when you read, even when you go through some of the commentaries, I just wanted to see what they said. Pretty much they try to equate that with different, with either 3 offices or 3 different, like the Pharisees, Sadducees in them. But pretty much this is just, when you have shepherds, the shepherd's supposed to watch over the flock, And the shepherd, when the Lord set up, when the apostles set up the 7 men to watch over the affairs of the tables, they were men of character. They were men that were known. They were known for their integrity. They were known for, not being thieves. So they were set up in that position to be continuous, because they had to watch over those affairs. So the Lord is saying these shepherds that are coming is like a dime a dozen. They come in and and the Lord casts them out because they're not keeping to the job. And remember, when we read this, we read up above in the 5th verse, it says, "And their own shepherds pity them not." So those are those shepherds that are not the true shepherds. They're nothing but what? Hirelings. Now let's go from there to Micah. Let's go to Micah, the 3rd chapter. And the 5th verse. Right? It says, "Thus saith the Lord concerning the prophets that make my people err, that bite with their teeth and cry peace, and he that putteth not into their mouths, they even prepare war against him. Therefore night shall be unto you, that you shall not have a vision, and it shall be dark unto you, that you shall not divine. And the sun shall go down over the prophets, and the day shall be dark over them. Then shall the seers be ashamed, and the diviners confounded. Yea, they shall all cover their lips, for there is no answer of the Most High. Why? Because they're going to be removed from that position that is not theirs anyways. Like the scriptures speak about the parables of the one that had, the ones that have, or the ones that don't have shall be taken from them, even that they have. Well, these different individuals out there, whether they're priest, prophet, or whatever they call themselves, preacher, brother so-and-so, deacon such and such, or whatever they call themselves, eventually they're going to be removed out of that position if they don't belong in that position. I believe that's, what is that, Matthew 6? Is that Matthew 6? Right, 6 and 22. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, if your eye is single, just focus on the kingdom, focus on this truth, what happens? You're going to be a good shepherd. Thy whole body shall be full of light. You're going to be able to edify. You're going to be able to teach. It says, but if thine eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? Because you're going to go from being in the light into extreme, utter, gross darkness. So that's what these shepherds represent. These shepherds represent those shepherds that are not doing their job, and the Lord had to move them out of that position. Because when you have a shepherd, the shepherd's supposed to be there for life, right? Now let's go from there. Let's go back to Zechariah 11:9. Now, then said I will not feed you. That dieth, let it die, and that is to be cut off, let it be cut off, and let the rest eat every one the flesh of another. So right here it says, then said I will not feed you. That dieth, let it die, and that is to be cut off, let it be cut off. And all throughout the scriptures, it all echoes the same sentiment. Let's go to Revelation 22 and 11. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still. If you trying to kick it to somebody and they ain't trying to hear it, later for them. There's plenty of work to be done. There's plenty of others you could teach. Somebody's going to get it. You got to move on from that individual. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still. He that is filthy, let him be filthy still. And he that is righteous, let him be righteous still. And he that is holy, let him be holy still. Because at the end of the day, when Yahushua comes back, he's going to give every man according to their works. So that's why the Lord said that whatever's going to die, let it die. I ain't going to worry about that anymore. And let the rest eat everyone the flesh of another. Now, this is not talking about cannibalism. It's not talking about cannibalism. Let's go back to Micah, the 3rd chapter. Now let's go to the 1st verse. And remember, when we read in the book of Psalms, what was that? Was that Psalms 27 or was that Psalms 90? Let me see. Right here, 27 to when the wicked, even mine enemies and my foes came up upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. In other words, to consume me. To leave me nothing, no hope. To not, so that I won't have any trust in the Lord. Just to strip somebody. So when you're talking about eating somebody's flesh, meaning sometimes it's talking about just stripping them of their identity or stripping them of everything that they have. So here in the book of Micah 3 and 1, and I said, here I pray you, O heads of Jacob. This is dealing with the leadership. Remember the scripture we read, the leaders of this people calls them to air. And ye princes of the house of Israel, is it not for you to know judgment? Yeah, because your thing is you're supposed to know judgment. But if money is what motivates you, you're gonna judge on the side of the one that pays you the most money. And you're not gonna judge according to equity. You're not gonna judge according to righteousness. You're not gonna judge according to what's supposed to be right. You're gonna wrestle the law and the scriptures and twist it in the direction of the one that paid you the most money. Who hate the good and love the evil, who pluck off their skin from off them. And that's what they're doing. They're plucking off the skin off of Jake. Here it is, we're going out to tell them they're Israelites. They said, nope, you're not Israelites. Here it is, we're telling them, the ones that know that they're Israelites and teach other Israelites that they're Israelites. We go out and say the MOTB is a microchip. They said, nope, it's not that. So they're stripping off the flesh from Jake and their flesh from off their bones because they're stripping them bare. Who also eat the flesh of my people. It's not talking about cannibalism. Oh, you got the cannibalistic shepherds. Watch out, because when they go around you, they bite you in the ankle. They take a chunk of your ankle. Don't let them get hold of your ear, because they're going to do the Mike Tyson thing and rip your ear off and eat it. No. It's talking about stripping their identity. It's talking about stripping, the right paths. This is a good precept that the brother put up. Ecclesiasticus 20 and 29. Presents and gifts blind the eyes of the wise and stop up his mouth that he cannot reprove. Beautiful. All right. It says, who also eat the flesh of my people and flay their skin from off them, and they break their bones and chop them in pieces as for the pot and as flesh within the cauldron. So in other words, they're setting Jake up. They're bringing him to what? The flock of the slaughter. They're furnishing the table for that troop. They're the Judas goats that are leading Jake astray down the wrong path. To cause them to fall by Esau, because they're getting paid. It says, then shall they cry unto the Lord, but he will not hear them. He will even hide his face from them at that time, as they have behaved themselves ill in their doings. So that deals with the leaders, and it deals with the ones that are being led of them. That's why Yahweh said, they be blind leaders of the blind. If the blind lead the blind, they shall both of them fall in the ditch. All right. So let's go back. Now we're going to the 10th verse. Zechariah 11 and 10. And I took my staff, even beauty, which we broke that down as dealing with the covenant, and cut it asunder. The Lord severed that I might break my covenant which I had made with all the people. And it was broken in that day, and so the poor of the flock that waited upon me knew that it was the word of the Lord. Yeah, because imagine being protected all the time, and then all of a sudden that protection is gone. You thinking, you walking the regular day, you thinking everything's gonna be cool, and then all of a sudden you had the Babylonians and the Assyrians and the different nations, and they were defeating Israel, and they're like, what the hell is going on, man? Why is the Lord forsaking us? It says, and I said unto them, if you think good, let me see, did I have anything for that? Nope. It said, and I said unto them, if you think good, give me my price, and if not, forbear. So they weighed for my price 30 pieces of silver. So this is the shepherds that are there for what? For money. Just give me my money. Because really they didn't give a shit about the flock. That's why when we read the 5th verse down here, it says, and their own shepherds pity them not. Why? Because they're there for the money. They ain't there for the benefit of the flock. So it says, and the Lord said unto me, cast it unto the potter, a goodly price that I was prized at of them. And I took the 30 pieces of silver and cast them to the potter in the house of the Lord. So these are those hirelings. You could use this in a sense also of like Judas Iscariot. How he sold the Lord out, but ultimately it's just dealing with anyone out there that's teaching for hire. Now let's get some precepts on that. Let's go to Zechariah, back to Zechariah. I'm sorry, Zephaniah. Nope, Micah. Micah 3 and 9. Hear this, I pray you, ye heads of the house of Jacob, and princes of the house of Israel, that abhor judgment and pervert all equity. Why? Because they love gifts. They love, money. They build up Zion with blood and Jerusalem with iniquity. That's it. The heads thereof what? Judge for reward. And the priests thereof teach for hire. So yeah, look, just give me the money. Hey, what happened when Judas Iscariot try to give the money back to the wicked Pharisees and them, well, they said, what's that to us? I betrayed innocent blood. And what's that to us? Like, they were like, so what? You know, you accomplished what you wanted you to do. Them motherfuckers is wicked to the core. The heads thereof judge for reward, and the priests thereof teach for hire, and the prophets thereof divine for money. Yet will they lean upon the Lord and say, is not the Lord among us? None evil can come upon us. Because they're teaching for hire. And eventually, it's going to be known that these guys were nothing more than jive turkeys. Because the things that they promised their congregation is not going to come. And they're going to receive the things, you know, that they're not looking for. Because they're looking for that peace. And another one says that they cry peace, peace, and they bite with their teeth, something like that. And they're not going to get it. They're going to get the total opposite. So the things that they promised wouldn't come on them is what's going to come on them. And the things that they promised that would not happen to them, or the things that they promised that would happen to them, and the benefits and all that, they're not going to receive. It says, therefore shall Zion for your sakes be plowed as a field, and Jerusalem shall become heaps, and the mountains of the house as the high places of the forest. Why? Because they're giving them false hope. Now let's go from there to the book of St. John chapter 10 and 1. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that entereth not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbeth up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. Now let's jump down to the 10th verse. The thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. Now, we use this for Esau, but this is really dealing with those wicked jakes, these wicked, foolish shepherds, these false prophets. It says, I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. But what happens with these individuals? But he that is an hireling and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, seeth the wolf coming and leaveth the sheep and fleeth. And the wolf catcheth them and scattereth the sheep. And that's exactly what they're trying to do. But what they don't understand is that the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is going to protect his elect. Protect the elect. The hireling fleeth because he is an hireling and careth not for the sheep. And that's what we're reading here in the book of Zechariah. All right. Now let's just do a little quick word search. I'm just going to put the word lucre. It came up in the other thing. Let me see something. Just bear with me 1 second. There were other precepts that came up on. Okay. All right. So we got that. We got that. How come it didn't give me that one? Okay, because they did it as one. Okay. Got that. All right. All right. I see what they did. All right. When 1 Samuel 8, this is dealing with Eli's two wicked sons, Hophni and Phinehas. I believe their names were. And his sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after what? After lucre, and took bribes and perverted judgment. Let's look up what the word lucre is. Right there. Lucre. They were chasing that money, man. Batazai. Profit. Unjust gain. Gain, profit acquired by violence. And that's all it's all about. Now let's go back. 1 Timothy 3 and 1. It says, not given to wine, no striker, not greedy of filthy lucre, but patient, not a brawler, not covetous. So filthy lucre, it should come up, I believe, as one, greedy of filthy lucre. The word there is ahishrokerdas. It's a mouthful. Eager for base gain, greedy for money. In other words, a hireling. All right. The word kerdos is gain. All right, let's see what else we got. The 8th verse. Likewise must the deacon be grave, not double-tongued, not given to much wine, not greedy of filthy lucre. Yeah, because if you're greedy of filthy lucre and you're put in that position, guess what? You're going to officiate the judgment for the one that pays the highest, bounty, so to speak, or the highest money. Let's see what yep, same word. Titus 1:7. For a bishop must be blameless as a steward of the Most High, not self-willed, not soon angry, not given to wine, no striker, not given to filthy lucre. And let's see, it should be the same thing because the word filthy lucre. Yep. And 1 Peter 5:2, feed the flock of the Most High, which is among you, taking the oversight thereof, not by constraint, but willingly, not for filthy lucre, but of a ready mind. See, because, this is the job of a true shepherd, to watch over the flock, to watch over the sheep. All right, so where are we at? Now we go to Zechariah 11:14. Then I cut us under mine other staff, even bands, that I might break the brotherhood between Judah and Israel, which that's happened. When you go back during the time of Rehoboam and Jeroboam, Rehoboam being the son of King Solomon, which took over the southern kingdom, which was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, which was really just Judah and Benjamin, because Levi were the priests. You had Levites among Judah and Benjamin, you had Levites among the other tribes, but Jeroboam, which was the Ephraimite, which took over the northern kingdom, he kicked out all of the Levites and sent them back, to Rehoboam, because he set up the basis of the people as priests, which wasn't supposed to be done. But the Lord did that because the Lord was about to take down the northern kingdom first. Now, if you notice, when you read throughout all the kings of Judah, maybe 2 or 3 kings would be wicked, then 1 king would be just. Then another 2 or 3 kings would be wicked, and then another king would be just. So every once in a while you had a just king among Judah. But when you read about the kings of Israel, they were all wicked. Every last one of them. Because the Lord was about to break them first. The northern kingdom was about to be broken first. Then afterwards, the southern kingdom. All right, so verse 15. It says, and the Lord power said unto me, take unto thee yet the instruments of a foolish shepherd. Right. And what is a foolish shepherd? One that is not watching over the flock. One that is not watching over the sheep. One that's doing this for gain. A walya, foolish, impious, meaning he's not faithful. Silly, foolish, impious. All right. It says, for lo, I will raise up a shepherd in the land, which will not visit those that be cut off. See? Neither shall seek the young one, nor heal that is broken, nor feed that standeth still, but he shall eat the flesh of the fat, and tear the claws in pieces, which you read about that. Woe to the idle shepherd that leaveth the flock. The sword shall be upon his arm, and upon his right eye. His arm shall be clean dried up, and his right eye shall be utterly darkened. And we read about that in the book of Micah, the 3rd chapter. We read about that in Matthew 6 chapter, where it said how great is that darkness. Now the last precept I'm going to leave you with is the book of Ezekiel 34 and 1. It says, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel. Prophesy and say unto them, thus saith the Lord power unto the shepherds. Woe be to the shepherds of Israel that do feed themselves. Should not the shepherds feed the flocks? And that's exactly what they're supposed to be doing. But they're not doing that. They're idol shepherds. IDOL, meaning that they are like when you have the priesthood of the Most High and you have the priesthood of the nations. The priesthood of the nations would be an idolatrous crew. They would be shepherds of idols. You see? Because in the case of those shepherds that didn't, let's say they didn't necessarily bow down to an idol, but money is the idol. Shekels were the idol. because they were doing it for that. You eat the fat and you clothe you with the wool, and you see that in these churches. You kill them that are fed, but you feed not the flock. Yahweh said, what? If you love me, feed my sheep and feed my lambs. The disease have you not strengthened, neither have you healed that which was sick. And that's why you have a lot of these individuals in the churches that are still teaching that madness, because they're sick in the head. The whole head is sick. Neither have you bound up that which was broken, neither have you brought again that which was driven away, neither have you sought that which was lost. Because what are they doing? Driving the rest of the flock away. And what did Yahweh say? If you don't gather with me, you scatter. Excuse me. But with force and with cruelty have you ruled them. Yeah, because you were those evening wolves. As we read earlier. It says, and they were scattered. I believe we read that earlier. Yeah, I believe we read that earlier. But with force and with cruelty have they ruled them, and they were scattered because there is no shepherd. And this is what happened. There was no one to lead them, no one to guide them. No leaders, true leaders. Until the Lord raised up, leaders in the last days. And they became meat to all the beasts of the field, meaning all of these different nations got a chunk out of Jacob. It says, when they were scattered, my sheep wandered through all the mountains and upon every high hill. Yea, my flock was scattered upon all the face of the earth, and none did search or seek after them. So now the phase is what? The next step is the Lord was going to come in and gather back his sheep and his flock and mend the house of David that was broken down, that was in ruins. And that's what we're witnessing right now, the building up of the house of the tabernacle of David. So with that, I pray that answered the brother's question. I pray that it was edifying. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay, I did hit that. All right. And with that, I pray that brothers have been edified, and a few sisters. Until the next time, I say shalom.